you don't need to tell people any of this to start, right? Welcome to Forging the Brand, episode 1.
Just kidding. It's episode 100. Thank you all for taking the time to be here. We overlaid the very first episode, man. Going back, thinking back to this journey and where we've been. It's crazy to think that we are 100 episodes in now. Kyle, give a little clap. Woo! Cheers, dude. Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Take a drink.
Yep. Cheers, brother.
Cheers. It has been one heck of a ride, to say the least. So many ups and downs. I'm sure when we recorded the first episode 50 times, we had thought that we had everything laid out. We were just gonna, go with the flow, and we were on the right track. Little did we know, we had to switch up everything.
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6 times.
I mean, I think it's kind of cool that we're even at
it's
100 episodes. I mean, we started this, our first episode released in July of 2020, and we're in July of 2022 at our 100th episode. And even just like going back and thinking I still even remember the first conversation Cam and I even had about trying to start something. I mean, we were at the LaRoche gym, and I was asking you about Nebulos, because you were just kind of getting that up and running. And, I helped out with Nebulos for a little bit. And then, it was just like within that moment, like, because I was telling you about the clothing brand I was trying to start when I was in college, just two completely separate things. Like, we were both just had this idea, like, I want to start something. You were doing the gaming industry with Nebulos, and, I've been trying to do clothes. And I think it was like that connection where it was like, we know we're going to end up doing something at some point, but at that time we didn't really know it. But, I don't know. It's just kind of crazy to think all the way
It's
back
all come
then.
full
Yeah.
circle, right? It's come full circle because, at the time, the only reason I got into Nebulos was like Connor and Eric, they needed somebody for like the business side of things. And then that kind of worked out because that led us to this moment because, again, like when you would ask me about it, it was just understanding how to set up a business. And, I'd gone through the process before. Now I'm through it a few times, to say the least. But that's, it's been a journey, and I'm glad that we started it. But to your point, like a lot of things were, thought up in that LaRoche gym.
Yeah, there really were. That was
for as small as it is, man. It had a huge impact on where we've gotten.
That was our hatchery, pretty much. That's where we came up with.
Just for everybody's reference, Kyle and I, we've lifted in there, we've laughed in there, we've been kicked out of there. It definitely is fitting to talk about that because, man, it's a big piece of where this started and where the conversation originally started with 2 other people. So like the company originally was supposed to be 4 of us, and it was not apparel. It was more or less going to be a YouTube channel on like trends and fads and basically myth busting everything that goes on in the fitness industry, because there's just so much talk and so much crap within the fitness industry with dieting, with exercise, whatever the case is, because we were all like very heavily into exercising. I'm not saying that we aren't now. Priorities have shifted a smidge as we sit here drinking our booze, but just to get us through the episode. But yeah, so it really started with 4 people, a YouTube channel. Then we kind of made our way to the traveling gym. Kyle, you want to talk a little bit about that? I know we've talked about it on a couple episodes before, but
yeah,
feel free to wrap it
I
up.
mean, I think the main motivating factor for me was watching Christian Guzman, owns Alphalete. He went from working with Gymshark to creating his own apparel and to having his own gym. And like, that was just the coolest thing to me. And I was like, everybody wants to go visit this gym that's in this location. And we were in the LaRoche gym where we were hatching all our ideas, trying to think of something. And we thought, let's let's take what Christian's building, which is just this gym that everybody wants to go to, and let's just make it a traveling gym. Like let's go down in Florida, and like we set up a massive tent and have all the gym equipment. Everybody comes in and works out. Like all these cool people were there. Like we had this great idea with it, and it was at that time it was just an idea, and we had no idea where it was going to lead us to. But my main point with this is like when you want to do something and someone else is also on the same page, you guys are going to spitball ideas that make literal probably no sense at all until you land on the idea that ends up being the one that you go with. But with the traveling gym, like we didn't really have like I said, it's just an idea. Like we had no logistics figured out. We had no equipment at the time. I think Cam had a couple of resistance bands, and I had a Smith machine that my parents didn't use. But we had
a foam roller, some resistance bands, and maybe a med ball.
We had.
That's the traveling gym. Come see us in Florida. Get some band work.
Yeah, like we had none of the logistics. We didn't even have a car that could fit anything more than, maybe a couple boxes in the back seat. But it was just an idea that we had, and we thought it was a really cool and interesting idea. And, maybe somewhere down the line we'll revisit the traveling gym again. But I think that was like the first idea that we had together where we were like, this could be kind of cool. And like we were getting in calls and talking to each other about it, and I mean that was the exciting part of like trying to figure out what it was that we wanted to do.
Yeah, that had to be over 3 years ago.
It was probably around the 2019
that was when I still lived back in PA. I've been out here for 3 years. Mm-hmm. So man, that's hard to. So like, just for point of reference for people, Kyle and I have been selling clothes for 1 year, and this idea is at least 3 years old.
Yeah.
So that's we've come a long way since then. But to Kyle's point, like we were coming up with an idea first of what we wanted to do, and then we would have put it into action. So yeah, the cost of everything, the logistics. I mean, that would have been a nightmare trying to get that situated. We weren't really thinking about it at the time, but it was definitely a way to stand out if we were marketing it correctly.
Yeah, I mean, what other gym travels around? Gyms are expensive enough as it is in a standstill spot. Might as well move around the U.S.
Mm-hmm. They definitely are expensive. But yeah, I mean, that idea led us to more of the fitness realm because Christian, what he's done. Obviously, we don't need to put it into words.
It's inspiring.
Remarkable. It's very inspiring. And, time and time again, Kyle and I, we wanted to be like Christian. There is nobody else like Christian in terms of, what he's done and, the way that he's funneled everything into Alpha Land at this point in time. As much as you want to be like him, as much as people want to be like him, use him as motivation. Don't try to catch him. The man, you won't catch him. He's way ahead of the game, and he's probably, Kyle and I know this now, but he probably designs and gets his clothes ready for launch at least 2 years in advance. At least 2 years in advance. So, good luck. If you try to catch him, good luck to you. If you don't catch him, don't be disappointed. You got to lead your own path, try to define who you are, and come up with your own idea too. So Kyle and I, from the traveling gym, we came into the fitness realm of apparel, and
workout apparel,
was a whole thing behind we love exercising, we love lifting, being active in the gym. That stayed pretty consistent for a while, I would say. We came up with the name, Iron Pulse, for those that have as much strength on the outside.
What was the name that we had beforehand? It took us.
I know one was Surge Nation.
Yeah, Surge Nation was one of them.
Surge Nation was one, and then I don't remember the other ones, but I'm sure some of them were.
This is just something for everybody that's trying to you might have a really good idea. Don't try to force a name, because if you just sit on it and you continue with if you have an end vision as to where you want to be and you know how to get there, let the name come when it makes sense. Don't try to force a name, because that's exactly what we did. We Surge Nation. It sounds kind of funny. Maybe it could have worked. Who knows? But down the line, like you end up getting the perfect name for whatever it is you're trying to do. Like it'll come naturally. Sometimes it's not.
Same with the logo. I would say just branding in general, right? Like the name, the logo, the typography, the colors, right? Like I feel like one day, the harder that you try to focus on it, the less success you will have. At least from what we've seen. You might be focusing on it for a few days, maybe a couple weeks, and then you take a break, switch your mind to something else. Then it just hits you. It just hits you. Like, oh my God, this is fantastic. Like, this is great. There's meaning behind it. Thankfully, we did a pretty good job, at least in our opinion, with Iron Pulse, with the podcast, with the logo being the IP that it is. And the logo, let me tell you, it went through like 5 or 6 different iterations. The colors, we wanted the minimalistic yet modern design. The Be All In, the Believe, Challenge, and Inspire. The website that flows with it, the loyalty program that flows with it. And we switched gears, right? Like around the time all of this was coming together was when I had called Kyle and I was like, dude, like we need an actual meaning to what this company is.
You were in the car and you called me and you said,
yeah,
we can't just sell clothes. And I was like, what do you mean we can't just sell clothes? Like I was like, we just spent about 20,000 in there.
No, we spent like 40. So we spent like 40,000 because the first launch was about that. It was about that much for 5 items, 1 color. It was about $40,000. Just take that in.
But I was like, what are you talking about? We can't sell clothes. Like we just dropped a fortune on them.
Yeah, we needed something. We needed to stand out in a way, so we started brainstorming. And in that call, like in that car ride, I was like, well, like who are we, right? Like what are we? And it was along the lines of like, okay, well, we're trying to be entrepreneurial. Like we would love to target entrepreneurs because there are no clothing brands for entrepreneurs. It just doesn't exist, and if they do exist, they're no longer active. So that's where we kind of got the Visionwear. Well, I shouldn't say kind of. That is exactly where we got the Visionwear from. That's exactly where we got investing back into entrepreneurs, people actually putting action behind what they say and do. That's where the Be All In came from. And Iron Pulse, like the meaning from the name that I mentioned before, like that's exactly it. Like it all started to come together. And Kyle and I were like a bobblehead, just 2 bobbleheads shaking our head up and down the whole time because we were like, yep, it's finally coming together.
Yeah.
And it just piggyback off of one another. Just that's all it did was like we had the pieces kind of set up. Like it was like we built the puzzle by forcing pieces. Right. But then we took a step back. We were like, okay, well, these clearly don't go together. So let's, try to actually rearrange these. And we started rearranging the puzzle, realizing that the pieces fit in certain areas, based on what we were doing. And they just kept fitting. And then as they kept fitting and as we had the mission and the vision and the values, like the more that we defined for the company with the same scope that we had, the easier it became to literally just like look forward and make decisions. So we finally got to like that last piece of the puzzle and it came together. We took a step back. We're like, yeah, this is Iron Pulse. This is exactly Iron Pulse, what it stands for.
Yep.
And
only took us 40,000 to get there.
it took us 40,000 in 3 years. Here we are. Oh man.
But also too, while we're trying to figure all that stuff out, like we didn't come out with our first launch until was that May of 2021?
May 29th, I believe.
May 29th of 2021. And our first podcast episode released in July of 2020. And so
I will say, just real quick, I will say along those lines to add to what you're saying, July 20th on 2020, to what Kyle's saying, that's when we released that video for like introducing our athleisure wear company, Iron Pulse. And at the time, that's just what we were going for. This was before Visionwear. This was before, the whole, what Iron Pulse is. But like looking back at that video, it's just, it's footage of us lifting. I think it's still on YouTube. It's footage. It's a good video, but like, obviously we didn't have any clothes at the time. It was more of like a logo reveal.
Yeah. Which, I mean, even that was exciting. Like that was like one of the coolest things that I've ever done. Like we put all this work in behind the scenes and we announced like what we're doing. I thought that was like one of the coolest things that at least I've ever posted on social media. But yeah, like as we were figuring that stuff out, we thought of ways that we can at least capture or remember everything that we talked about, even going through it. And this podcast has been a godsend for us because we record an episode every week. We release an episode every Wednesday. And every week we have something new to talk about, whether it's in the realm of this business itself and our Forging the Brand category, whether it's in our fitness and nutrition portion, whether it's someone who's just like us that's in a different avenue of, a side hustle or whatever it might be in our Believe, Challenge, and Inspire segment where we have people come tell their stories. Or if it's our, we also have the other one, which is just kind of like
Tipsy Talk.
Yeah, we also have our Tipsy Talks. But it was
I think we've only had
go ahead.
we have like 2 of those.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say we have like 2 of those or 3 of those. I don't think the last one never got released.
Kyle and I can't find my audio clip from it for whatever reason. But
it was brutal.
Yeah, but the point being, like you even heard from the intro, those of you that are listening to it, even up to this far, you heard from the intro. That was the intro that we had from our very first podcast that we ever released, which is cool. I mean, we can't go back in time to 2020 and make a podcast about where we're at that time unless you recorded in the moment. And I'm excited for myself to go out to Denver because it's almost like a brand new beginning for myself. And Cam and I are going to get to record everything with video, kind of like what we did with the podcast, just with audio recordings. But to me, it's almost like a fresh start, and it's like a new chapter that we're going into, and we're just going to document the hell out of it.
That's a great way to put it. Document. Like Kyle and I had no idea what we were doing, what we were talking about when we started the episode. I mean, hell, there are still weekends or weeks that we still don't know. It's very rare, but again, we just started talking. We started putting it out there. We just were documenting the process, talking about the process, talking about, how we feel, how we failed, how we succeeded, where we're going, where we've been, like everything into one, whether it's a 7-minute episode or it turns into an hour episode. I think our longest might be an hour and a half or 2 hours, which is probably a tipsy talk because we just ramble at that point. But we just talked to what we were doing. And I mean, that's what social media is. It's just talking to what you're doing. And that's, again, like Kyle and I just talked about this, but it's the last piece of the puzzle that we're trying to figure out on a personal level. On the brand level, I think that we're doing a good job. On a personal level, we suck talking about what we're doing. Because, whether it's like filing for sales tax or getting different licenses or permits, like all the things that people don't want to hear or see, the things that, you would expect them to not want to hear or see, that's just what goes on behind the scenes. Or adding product descriptions, adding different apps to our Shopify store, or fixing and sizing images because of this reason instead of that reason. Like there's just little nuanced things like that we don't necessarily talk to, but I'm sure people would actually like to see. But I think we've gotten better with the reels. Like Kyle's been doing a good job of running the social media. Our followers they're increasing, I would say, at a pretty steady rate. And we are growing. It just takes time, takes patience. But compared to where we were, when we first launched, I mean, I would say we've made significant progress, and things are actually they're just beginning, I should say. We've got a lot more items that we want to launch and a lot more items that we've designed. So a lot more work ahead, but it's good to take a step back and realize that, yeah, we've made it 100 episodes, and I don't really see us slowing down anytime soon.
No, I think it's only going to get better. Like we're going to have more things to talk about. We're going to, we're trying to set up a podcast studio in the near future so that we can, have recordings of us doing the podcast instead of just vocal things. And, there's different things that we have planned that it's not really, I don't know, the way I kind of think about all this stuff is like, sure, if we were to just talk about it with someone, it's kind of like, oh, like, yeah, those are cool ideas. Like, maybe they'll end up doing it or not. But for me, it's not really like I know we're going to end up doing it, just a matter of time until, when it happens, which to me, that's exciting because I know I have someone in my corner like Cam that's, we're going to do whatever it takes. Doesn't really matter, what the cost is or how long it takes. We know it's going to happen. And, like I said, it's just really only a matter of time until things get even better than what they were right now, which, I mean, even to, at the start of this episode, we started it with our very first podcast intro ever, which, we just spent the last 20 minutes talking about how much things have changed, but things are going to change even more in the next 2 to 3 years from where they've started, 3 years ago, which is exciting. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. If you see us on the street corner, don't judge us. We're just trying to fund the fourth launch. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Doing what it needs to get done, right? I mean, it's just, that's just what it comes down to. It is, looking back and seeing even just the titles of the episode, because I think we've listened to the episodes before, but just looking at the titles and seeing like, okay, or the description, like this, oh, I remember this point in time or that point in time. I mean, we have failed significantly. I mean, that Australian company that we continue to come back to, like they were just the Achilles heel that almost took us out of the game before we even got started. It was brutal. And because we were persistent, because we had a vision for what we wanted to create, and thankfully, like Kyle and I both have decently good jobs, I would say, we were able to keep going. And, they're obviously like the end game would be to leave our jobs, do this full time. We don't know when that'll be. And it's not easy. I mean, think about how many people do stuff full time while trying to do a side hustle. I mean, that's what this company was built for. This company is built for people, just like us in that sense, right? Like come on the podcast, like market yourself, market your company, market your side hustle. Yeah, if you support us, of course we'll invest back into you. Like that's the concept of Visionware it is the first apparel company to invest back into you. And it still blows my mind that like that we've done this. Like we are capable of doing this. And I think the concept has still been a little difficult to get to people to understand because it's not like there's a point of reference for them to pull from. Visionware is a new concept, and we have it explained on the website. We have it explained in a YouTube video. I mean, we've talked about it in multiple podcasts. It is the investing back into your company, your side hustle, your project, whatever you're working on, to break away from the status quo, to be different, to be you, right? Like that's what it is. But it is really crazy that we've come this far to this point. Just all of the hurdles. Biggest hurdle, definitely the companies we've worked with. Whether we've found Alibaba manufacturers or we found just other manufacturers just through their own websites online. I mean, it has been a hurdle and it's been a process. And quite frankly, Kyle and I, like, we've talked to at least 60 to 100, at least. And we're still not set on, a top 3 or a top few that we would use over and over again. And that's just because like we have to still remain flexible. We have to be versatile and kind of move and sway with, the direction that we're going. But we have to keep our options open because, well, there's a few reasons. But I mean, funding is obviously one of the reasons, right? We have to keep our options open because we still have to be able to make great products while keeping the costs relatively clean and good. Kyle and I knew we couldn't go into a second launch spending $40,000. I mean, that was just, it couldn't happen again. So thankfully, like we made adjustments that we needed to make because the company wouldn't have survived. We've had to be adaptable. And I think that we've done a good job being adaptable. And I think that we are constantly doing a good job of being adaptable because of, there's things that you and I want to accomplish with the company. And in order to work towards those goals, we have to change a couple things around just to make sure that we can hit those goals that we want. So we've done a good job with that, I would say. I think the biggest thing is like we hope that people find value in this, in all of what we talk about. That's how we end every podcast. Thanks for taking the time to listen. Like, if you found value, please share it with your friends and family. Like that's why we do this. As much as Kyle and I love to hear ourselves talk, me more than anybody else, as you can tell, I take up 95% of the podcast. But but it's because like we are sharing the experience as we go through it. Because there are mistakes in here that we talk to that like we hope you don't make. Right? But like again, you will learn that through experience. Right, Kyle? I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Like you have to experience it.
Yeah, and I think like there was no book that, I mean, trust me, when I say Cam and I did our digging, like we did our digging. There's no PDF or there's no secret course that you can pay for that'll show you how to create a clothing line. I mean, I think honestly the best thing you're going to get is probably through what we've documented so far and the process. I mean, even the guys that I looked up to and inspired me to create my own clothing brand, like they didn't talk about the nitty gritty that goes on a weekly basis from time to time, whether it's dealing with vendors, whether it's dealing with suppliers, or whether it's overcoming challenges and price negotiations. Like none of them talked about that in their videos. They would promote themselves and, whatever activity they're doing, then the clothes were supplemental. But, you're not going to, basically what I'm trying to say is you have to learn through experiences, and whether they're good or bad, you're going to have takeaways from them. As Cam mentioned, we've certainly had our fair share of bad instances that didn't go in our favor whatsoever. It's almost like it couldn't have gone worse for us at the time. But we still had that end vision of where we wanted to be, and whether it's good or bad, like we knew whatever challenge we were facing at that time wasn't going to end the company, or it wasn't going to stop us from getting to where we want to be. And instead it was more so just, this is the current situation. How do we fix it? How do we get around it? Like, what's the next step? And that's kind of the mentality you have to have. You have to go into it understanding that you're going to have mistakes, you're going to have challenges, and you just got to be forward looking and always adapt.
Yeah, learn from the failures, grow the successes.
Yep.
Right? There's always a teachable opportunity in failure and in success. While it's good to, you can celebrate the successes. Maybe you did $1,000 that month. Well, why wasn't it, $1,500 or $2,000, right? So like celebrate the fact that you are better this month than you were last month, but ask yourself why wasn't it, X, Y, and Z? There's, you can learn from it and grow, even if it's a success. You can still learn from a success, right? And grow it to be better. Same thing with failures. I mean, I don't need to sit here and preach that. I mean, we all know that. That's just common knowledge, I feel, at this point. But again, we talk about funding and we talk about money and finances a lot. And even if you have no money, you can still figure out what you want to do. I think our second episode was actually like, if you want to start a business with no money,
yeah,
there's a lot. Yeah, I mean, you can do it, right? You can do it. You're gonna, at the end of the day, especially in this day and age, like you're gonna have to be on social media. You're gonna have to be social with it, and you don't have to. You can still be successful without it, but it definitely aids and helps you in getting there quicker, and it can help you build the community that you want, right? I mean, that's what Kyle and I can't stand social media. I feel like all of my close friends can't actually, like, they don't like social media because it's just fake. But at the same time, like, we have to do it. Like, in order for us to, continue what we're doing and to grow bigger and better, like, it's just something that we have to do because we don't have the luxury of being in 3, 4, 5, 6 stores or any stores for that matter. So in order for us to get there, we have to grow. And how do you grow nowadays? On social media, on the phone, on an iPad, like, just whatever the case is, like being on social media, it's what everybody spends their time on. I mean, the fact that people count screen time more than they count anything else these days. It just gives you a good direction as to where we're all headed.
Yeah, for sure. So Cam, it's been 100 episodes in almost 3 years. What are some of your favorite memories you've had?
Well, our Tipsy Talk episode 1 will forever be one of my top favorite ones.
The intoxicated introduction.
The intoxicated introduction. Yeah. That was a fun episode through and through. I mean, we talked, shared some stuff, and I'm still a big fan of. I love the Tipsy Talk ones. Granted, I love sharing like the business experience and the mindset and the motivation that I've had. I've gone on more rants than a lot of people on podcasts, but the Tipsy Talk ones are always a hoot, especially the last one because we literally we can't find it. I know we recorded it, but I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day. It was quite interesting. Other than that, I mean, just the guest speakers we've had on here, they've all been fantastic. They've all brought their own experience, their own personalities to the show. We've had at least 10. I would say we've had at least 10 so far, right?
Yeah, probably about.
Do you know off the top of your head?
I could go through and count them. What about outside of the podcast too? It doesn't have to just be podcast specific.
What's my favorite moment outside of the podcast?
Yeah, it could be anything.
Oh, dude, just being together and shooting the shit.
Yeah.
Like when I would come home, like after I moved, when I would come home, we would get a lift in for like Christmas. Because that's basically the only time I come home. When we would get a lift in for Christmas, it's hysterical, dude. Like we both walk into the room just already laughing because there's just something stupid that we're going to talk about. And that's just what it is. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of headache. Like owning a company is a lot of headache, but it is also a lot of fun too. If you actually surround yourself with people that will help make it fun. Like there's a time to understand that like, okay, this is business. Like in order for us to, continue to survive, we got to do this. But there's also times you got to enjoy it. If you're not even enjoying it, then why are you doing it? Because if you think money just falls out of the tree and into your hand because you decide to own a business, will be sadly mistaken. That's just not how it rolls. Even if you have the greatest invention or something new, you still have to find ways to market it. You're still going to have sleepless nights, early mornings, whatever the case is. You're going to have a lot of work. So it doesn't just come to you as much as we want to believe that it does. But yeah, I mean, the one-off lifts that we have when we basically strategize and just shoot the shit, that's always a good time. The people, and I've talked about this a little bit. I mean, you and I have actually talked about this on a bunch of episodes, but like the people that have given the brand a shot they've done it. First off, it's more people than I would have thought originally. And they've given us more time, effort, and energy than anything else to help bring the vision to life. And these are people that we didn't know a year or 2 years ago. Like we reached out to them. Hey, you want to be a part of this? Hey, we explained who we are, a little bit about us, met them in person. Like you and I are personable people. Like meeting us in person goes a hell of a lot. It goes a lot further than us on social media, I would say. We're more of like in the moment, in person type of people. But yeah, the people have done great work and they've definitely helped us get to where we are. So what about you, dude? Let's hear your top moments.
I think, I'm definitely with you. Like the times that we're together, whether it's doing a photo shoot, trying to figure out why something on Shopify is disabling an entire page, or whatever it is, like we always end up having fun with it. We're cracking jokes, we're laughing at something. Like it's just always a fun time, which I think makes some of the harder and more difficult times a little bit easier to digest, just because we're cracking jokes and having fun. I think overall though, like I've always wanted to have a clothing company, and like Iron Pulse has given me that, which is cool. It's not where I want it to be yet, and not where Cam wants it to be, but it's there and it's something, and we're getting there. I think some of the other things too, like we've gotten to some pretty damn cool places, just only in Colorado and around the Denver area specifically, with all the clothing and doing photo shoots. And I can only imagine where we're going to be going 3-4 years from now for photo shoots and video collabs and whatever it might be. Some of my favorite places I've been to have been because I've either made a trip out to Denver for Iron Pulse stuff, or we're doing a photo shoot there. Like, we've been to the Red Rocks, we've gone to the top of mountains to see the sunrises, and a bunch of cool stuff that I otherwise probably wouldn't have done.
And Philly, dude. Philly was really
yeah.
fun.
We went to Philly. Like, we made a wedding into an Iron Pulse trip.
That was the best weekend I've had in a long time.
Yeah,
especially we shot at Vanderbilt. Where did we shoot at?
No, Villanova.
We shot at Villanova.
That's where you bought your camera too. Like, we went to Villanova. We go to Philly for a wedding, and Cam dropped, what was it, like $1,500 on a camera?
Casually dropping, close to 2 G's on a camera.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
And a couple lenses.
I flew out to Denver one time, lost my wallet, showed up with no money.
First thing he says when he gets off the plane, he calls me. He doesn't have his wallet. And I was like, and you would think like I would sit there like be like, oh my god, dude, what happened? Like, no, it was more of like, I knew something was probably gonna happen. Like, that's just what it's turned into.
You just laughed and said, "You're an idiot."
Said probably something like, yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
Something to that extent. Like, enough has happened to the point where it doesn't faze me when things happen now. It's just like, yeah, that's in line with what I would expect. Yeah, I mean,
so many things
it's definitely
are just like between Cam and I, like, Cam knows, I don't need to tell him, but my memory is not the best. It's the amount of times that Cam will either ask me to do something or I forget a password that we created and I have to ask him about it. Those are always fun.
Yeah. Definitely on my resume, I'm putting manager. And Kyle has definitely been the employee that he'll be my reference. I'll have him call Kyle. But yeah, it's been an experience, but it's been an awesome one. I don't know, Kyle, did we ever talk about the podcast picture, like why it is what it is? The main podcast picture.
Yeah, the guy walking up the stairs. I don't think we have, actually.
I don't think we've talked about that. 100 episodes in, we can finally talk a little bit about it. But so I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, and Kyle, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but like the whole point to this was to have a silhouette walking towards like opportunity, and along the lines of like all the fun that Kyle and I have had, all the ups and downs that we've had, like there's always been a chance for us to create opportunity, whether the outcome was good or bad. We've taken that chance and we've tried to turn it into something, right? So like this podcast picture that we've had forever now, ever since episode 1, like it's just always been like that whole, there's another door open, right? One closes, you open another one. And, if you're willing to jump through and take it, you're not going to be able to see what's on the other side, right? Hence the light beaming through. But, if it's something that you're willing to go explore and take that risk and take that chance and take that leap, like go for it, right? The opportunity's there. You just need to be able to look for it, find it, create it, and walk through it, right? So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, Kyle, if there's anything else you'd want to add along those lines based off of what we've said and what we've done, but I mean, that basically sums it up.
Yeah, no, man, I mean, kind of crazy we're at 100 right now. Looking forward to the day that we're at 1,000. I'll take this clip right from here and say, I can't believe we're at 1,000 and can't wait for 100,000.
We're gonna be.
We'll probably be dead by that time, but maybe we'll make it to 10,000.
What would that be? So okay, it took us 2 years, right? 2 years to do 100.
Yeah.
So 20 years. Okay. That's not terrible.
Yeah, I think like we should still be alive in 20 years.
Yeah. Hopefully at that time you're still not editing. If you're still editing podcasts at that time, man, we failed.
Yeah,
because I feel like we should be able to get somebody to Yeah, we should be able to get somebody to edit by then. Maybe grow a little bit. Yeah, it's that will be crazy. I would love to put out more than one a week, but like one a week has worked well for us now. And
it's also a good way for us to capture updates. Like, you know, we deal with stuff on a day-to-day basis, but it'd be hard to capture all of that into an episode that's longer than, you know, 2 minutes. For the exciting stuff, at least. Like, nobody wants to hear about me and Cam talking about clothing suppliers for 15 minutes 4 times a week.
No. Where to find them, we still don't know. We know where you can look for some, but the good ones, I mean, here's the thing. Every supplier, especially when you talk with manufacturers like overseas, all they want to do is close the deal. They will tell you everything you want to hear until they close the deal. You're just hoping that they're actually ethical. And a lot of them aren't. It's unfortunate, but like, you know, read the reviews, try to do as much due diligence as possible, but it's not easy. Even though we live in a web universe where everything should be captured, like, it's easy to be manipulated and it's easy to be faked, which it happens sometimes, especially working with manufacturers. So, you know, again, like Kyle and I, we could sit here and list off the manufacturers we worked with, but at the same time, even if they were okay for us, they might be terrible for you. I don't know. Experience will be the best teacher for that. It's just one of those things, Kyle. I feel like we could try to give people like all the answers of what we've gone through, but even then, it's a different experience per person.
Yep. Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, and also you kind of touched on it earlier, like Christian Guzman with everything he's done with Alpha Lead and Alpha Land is a great motivator for us, but we're never going to be Christian. We're never going to have exactly what he has, but we are going to have our own path and we're going to create our own opportunities so that, you know, little Jimmy, maybe 15 years from now can say, hey, you know, I like what Cam and Kyle did. I want to try to do the same thing.
Come on, little Jimmy. This episode's for you. But yeah, you know what else has been a good moment? I'm going to just rewind a little bit. The Halloween happy hour special. That was funny, dude. Kyle and I were laying on the floor like we were 2 schoolgirls talking about boys. And we were in, what were you? You were in your
I was the lubrication expert.
Lubrication expert. And I was the more hose guy in our Halloween costume. Hysterical. But that was a fun episode. I think that was last 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago.
2020.
And then we followed up with a Q&A for our New Year's Tipsy Talk. That was also a good one too. That one's actually on video on YouTube.
It is.
Because we were in the same room together. But yeah, man, it's Tipsy Talk ones are so much fun. I don't know if we have any other ones past that.
No, probably do for another one here pretty soon. Maybe in August.
Maybe in August. Yeah. We'll have to see. I mean, right now I'm drinking Breckenridge espresso flavored vodka. Kyle, what do you have?
I got some cherry bourbon from Traverse City, I believe.
Yeah, so this is kind of a tipsy talk, but it's a celebratory episode for the 100th. In case you guys didn't hear us for the first 100 times, this is our 100th episode. But it's just so much fun, dude. It's so crazy, man. I don't care if like 3 people listen to this, 30 people or 300. I don't care because we kept to it. Like 100 episodes. That is not easy to do at all. Corporations that have had teams dedicated to podcasts haven't hit 100. They weren't able to stay consistent with it. I mean, it just goes to show you, like, if you want to accomplish something, you can do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Me talking like you and I are in the Olympics. We just did 100th episode. If you guys want it, you can do it. Yeah, good times. Good times. You have any other questions over there? I mean, I kind of want to keep it going, but at the same time, I don't want to just ramble on for the sake of rambling on.
What's been your least favorite experience so far?
Um. Well, my least favorite, like, one experience is just kind of the umbrella. It has been dealing with manufacturers. That's my least favorite because there are a few. Like, I've been tracking down $100 for five
months.
freaking months. 5 months. Finally got paid this week, but Slyletica, which was the Australian company, they're just a shit show. I would say everybody stay away from them if you decide to make clothes. That's been a pretty bad one. Hearing people time and time again talk about how they want to support it or asking for free clothes, that's not been a fun experience either. Just don't talk. Don't talk. Nobody made you reach out to, like, Kyle, myself, or the company and say that you're going to support, and then, you tuck your tail between your legs and you walk the other way. Like, there's no reason to talk about something before you do it. And this actually kind of goes hand in hand with the first episode that we did, the intro. Like, you don't have to say anything. And I know I was talking about something else. Like, this was a different context at that point in time. But, like, you don't have to say anything. Like, just do it. Like, people, especially for smaller companies, like, they know who you are. They're appreciative. Like, if they're packing the orders, they know exactly who you are. Right? Like, a lot of people have asked for free stuff. A lot of people have just, I don't know, they people just talk, man. And, as much as, like, we know it happens, but, like, quite honestly, like, I'm not a fan of it. Like, Kyle and I, like, we respect people more that, just that they don't want something or they don't pay it. Just don't say it. Like, there's no false hope there. Like, there's no reason, if you feel like you're backed so far in that corner that you feel like you got to lie and say, oh yeah, I'm going to go do this. And then you just never do anything. I mean, dude, like, just don't say anything. Like, Kyle and I aren't offended that you don't want clothes. We get it. It's not for everybody. Like, we're not taking it to heart and putting you on our checklist saying, oh, this guy or this girl, oh yeah, you. And we're not doing that. It's, if you don't want it, okay, it is what it is. We can still have a conversation, and be cordial. Yeah, man.
Yeah. I think for me, like, I'm almost gonna kind of mix it with, it's my least favorite and also probably my biggest regret so far is probably me just not moving out there sooner. Like, my lease ends here in Cleveland and next month on the 20th or the 22nd, but I wish that I didn't sign another year lease just so that I could have either, been out there in Denver or, like, I don't know. I just feel like if I were out there sooner, we'd have made more progress because we're super productive when I'm out there. And it's just tough when we're in two different locations. I think we've done a hell of a job so far, especially on Cam's part, just of putting everything together. But, I can't even help but think if I would have gone out there last year, who knows?
Yeah, like, I definitely see where you're coming from, but it's a hard gamble. So, like, now you're coming out here, that's what's going to happen. It's hard a year ago, especially, like, when we first started selling clothes, like, picking up your life and moving it. Granted, we are young enough we could recover. But at the same time, like, with a job and everything, like, it's not that easy to do. Now, if you would have, like, if we would have been able to hint at, like, what I was doing out here, I think tenfold you would have been the road runner.
Yeah.
You just ran everywhere.
Yeah. I just started hitchhiking.
Right.
No, but I do know what you mean. I guess it's just, like, I don't know. Like, I can only help but think, obviously, because it's in the past and, the year's over. But, like, it's just one of those what ifs. Like, what if, we were in the same spot for an entire year more?
I mean, I think, too, like, it was understanding. So, like, I've always been the person, like, be all in is the perfect tagline. It's a perfect slogan for Iron Pulse. I mean, that's just what it is. Because, like, it's 0 or 100. Like, I don't waste effort. Right? And, like, you see that now more than ever, especially with the company. Like, oh, shit. Like, it's 100%. Like, we are going for it. Here it is. Like, but it might not have been, like, as apparent before you signed the lease, right? Because at that point in time, you would have had to have made this decision a few months prior to re-signing the lease too, just thinking about like, okay, I need a new job, I need a place to live, like what am I doing, right? There were a lot of decisions that needed to happen before then. And I just think that the timing didn't permit it. But now, like looking at how things are going, what we're doing, how we're moving around, and you can make that decision like more clearly, right? Like you can make it with a better judgment because you've been able to see more, be a part of it more, and just basically take it in, right? And like knowing like, okay, I see how things are set up now, because like before, the inventory it's moved from U-Haul boxes to trash bags to shelving now, right? So like things are growing, but like before, dude, it's like it's hard to say, like it's hard to have that as regret, and I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, like it's not an easy decision to move your life for the sake of moving your life with like nothing really to fall back on, because at that point in time, it's not like Iron Pulse was doing Gangbuster, right? It just wasn't. So
yeah,
it's like I definitely understand the frustration and the regret a little bit, but at the same time, I think you see it more now because like there's a better understanding of obviously like what's going on out here in the team. Like it was hard, dude. It's hard to make that decision, right? Like because we didn't have a team at the time. We had like sketches, right, for like our first line. Didn't have a team. Didn't have like anybody. And like granted, like yeah, like I've had to build it out here with your help, of course, but it's seeing it now come to life. Like we have a team now. We have a good setup for the warehouse. Like the products are doing well. It's a business. Like it's a legit business. That makes it a lot easier to chase after and to follow it and to be like, okay, like it's 110% in motion. Wheels are in motion. Like I'm going out there.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know how you would have made that judgment before. I would have moved probably just for the sake of just moving, getting out of Cleveland. But at the same time, dude, like it's easier said than done because, I didn't have a job like keeping me in Cleveland.
Yeah. That's
right.
fair.
Like you have a good experience. Plus, all it did was it just added another year of experience and another promotion to your resume. So like it makes it, hopefully easier for you to get a job out here, while we work this. So like, yeah, I mean, because from my side of things, like, of course it's frustrating not having everybody out here, right? Like, of course it's frustrating not having you out here, but at the same time, like I understand it. Some days are way worse than others. Some days are obviously better than others, right? But like, I think that we've done a good job. We see the light at the end of the tunnel of where it's going, and the fact that we can collaborate more and get people together and shoot more. But yeah, I mean it's hard to tell from where we were, right?
Yeah,
but, I mean, I would say I will.
Go ahead.
Well, just to wrap it up, like I will say though, in the past like 3 or 4 months, those have been like the biggest drivers, the significant drivers of increase for us, for like probably for you to say, okay, like I have to go now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's just what it is.
Yeah, you got some cool things coming, and definitely once I'm out there, I mean, it's only going to get crazier.
We have stuff coming that, we're not ready to talk about right now. But at the same time, like, I think it's something that people would not expect. I 110% think that we could have 1,000 people guess it. They would not be able to expect what's coming.
Yeah.
Which is good. It keeps everybody guessing. But we're moving, again, like we're moving in the right direction. Like nothing has stopped us from day one of getting here to the 100th episode. Nothing's going to stop us from, this day getting to the 200th, 300th, 400th, to Kyle's 10,000.
Yeah.
When Kyle and I are sitting on the couch all dusty, trying to, record the episode, it's, there's a direction we're moving in. I'm excited for it too, but yeah, it's going to pick up for sure once you come out here in September, right?
Yeah, it'll probably be around that September, October timeframe.
Yeah, September, October. That's a good ways away, but at the same time, it'll creep up pretty quickly. Well, I guess it's 3 months, so not too far away, actually.
Yeah.
But, yeah, exciting things coming. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about on the 100th?
I don't think so.
It's been a journey. And I think that, we don't always do the best job of looking back and seeing how far we've actually come, because life's a competition, right? Life's a competition. You see it firsthand on social media when you scroll. You see people that are killing it, people that are younger than you, they're more successful than you. And I don't know if it's a show or who's paying what, whatever the case is, life revolves around the money, unfortunately, in social media. So I think like you and I, we haven't done the best job at, just with our social media presence. That is the last piece of the puzzle. And we haven't done the best job of just, taking a look back and accepting and being proud of what we've accomplished. So I think that this is definitely a good episode to look back on and see how far we've come. 100 of anything is impressive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Very, very proud of where we're at now and excited for the future for sure.
Excited for the future, excited for the new partnerships we're going to make, excited for the partnerships that we currently have that are just going to continue to grow and flourish, excited for just, everything. The new clothes that we're going to design, the direction that we're going, being able to help people with their goals and their company and their side hustles and everything in between. It's been a journey, man. It's a good time, good journey. I'm pretty excited to see where we go from here. So with that, we could take one more sip. Oh yeah, that feels good. I'm drinking out of my Nebulos glass.
Oh yeah.
That's a great company too. Quick shout out to that company. As much as I want to see Iron Pulse succeed, I definitely want to see that company succeed as well. And that's a whole other that's a whole other episode on a different podcast. But yeah, we can end it here. We're coming up on an hour, so we can't thank you all enough for helping us get to the 100th episode. The support, the love, from a mental, emotional, financial standpoint, like all of the above, physical standpoint, like everybody that has helped us get to this point in this position, like Kyle and I are definitely grateful. And we're happy that you're a part of the company. Like Iron Pulse is the people, right? Iron Pulse isn't myself and Kyle. It's the people that come together in the community that form one to be Iron Pulse and to be the Envision Nation. That's what it is. So we do appreciate it. As always, thank you for taking the time to listen. You can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Pinterest at Official Iron Pulse. But don't worry, if you prefer email, we have got you covered. You can subscribe to the Iron Pulse Report by visiting shopironpulse.com. And for the 100th time, remember, no matter what you do, be all in.